Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pitts. This is Ukraine War Breaking News Update for the 27th of September 2024. We have had this meeting between Donald Trump, the nominee for the GOP for the seat of president in November. And he has recently got into a bit of a spat with President Zelenskyy of Ukraine, and there has been a danger that Ukraine is becoming a political football between the Republicans and the Democrats, with the Republicans seeming to, or at least the Trumpian Republicans seeming to want to appease Putin, and they are seeing it as such a partisan issue that Zelenskyy is being weaponized by the Democrats, and this is an issue, and therefore, by extension, by default almost, the Republicans should be siding with Putin, right? Okay, which is a bit of a problem. Now, that has caused a meeting between Zelenskyy and Trump to be refused or rebuked, even though it's thought to be on the cards. Same with Mike Johnson as the Speaker for the House Republicans. But there's now been this kind of last-minute meeting between Trump and Zelenskyy. I'm trying to get my head round the videos of what has actually taken place. Now, this is a video before they were meeting. I'm just going to take a couple of snippets from this. This is right at the beginning when they haven't yet sat down with each other.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have the president with us. And he's been through a lot. He's been through a tremendous amount, like probably nobody else, almost nobody else in history, if you really get right down to it. And we're going to have a discussion and see what we can come up with. But great honor to have you with us. Thank you very much.
So, good start.
What I expect to hear from what are your expectations from this meeting? What do you expect to hear from Mr.
Nothing. Look, this is a meeting, and we have a big race going on right now. I guess 37 days left, and we're leading in the polls, and so we'll see how it all works out. Hopefully it'll work out, but if it does, we're going to work very much with both parties to try and get this settled and get it worked out. It has to end at some point. It has to end. He's gone through hell, and his country has gone through hell like few countries have ever, like it's happened anywhere. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. It's a terrible situation. And I will.
Of course, there's a lot of rhetorical quips here, like no one's ever seen this. Well, World War II, you know, I don't want to downplay Ukraine's plight, obviously, as you know my position, but it frustrates me that no one's ever seen these numbers. No one's ever. Anyway, that aside, what I quite like here from Trump is finally we're seeing a bit of empathy, something that we don't often hear from him, and he seems to be understanding the plight of Ukraine. This is good news.
I'll say I have had a great relationship. It was very honorable. I don't even know if you know this, but when they did the impeachment hoax, it was a hoax, just a Democrat hoax, which we won. But one of the reasons we won it so easily is that when the president was asked, it was over a phone call with the president, and he said he could have grandstanded and played cute, but he didn't do it.
And what we're doing here is we're replaying some key talking points for Trump, which is how well they're doing in the election, winning in the polls. Impeachment was a hoax, and this guy made the greatest phone call ever type thing. So a bit of, annoying distractions going on there, but that's fairly typical for Trump. Now, after the meeting, I believe then this is stuff that's happened after the meeting. Sorry for some of the different levels in the audio and whatnot. Here we have Zelenskyy and Donald Trump. I don't know what the best video to play first. It's trying to work out. I'm going to play this in full. This is a 2-minute video here. So we have Trump and Zelenskyy both talking.
Vision is fair.
Well, it's too early to say that.
Actually, he's talking about fair there. So I think this bit may come first, where he talks about doing a fair transaction. No, this is it. We'll have this one first.
He wants it to end, and he wants it to end as quickly as possible. He wants a fair transaction to take place, and I think, right now I'm campaigning, so right now I don't have much to do with it other than we're doing very well in terms of the campaign, and I've been saying that I believe if I win, we're going to have a very fair and I think actually rather rapid deal. It should stop, and the president wants it to stop, and I'm sure President Putin wants it to stop. and that's a good combination. So we want to have a fair deal for everybody.
What do you envision is fair?
Okay, and so the first thing to say is that President Putin wants it to stop, and actually some people have been pointing out that he doesn't seem to be wanting it to stop at all. He's building up more and more capabilities and capacities, gone to a war economy. That is possibly a complete misreading of what is going on there. Right, we'll now go to this video.
What do you envision is fair?
Well, it's too early to say that. I mean, I have my own ideas, and I'm sure the president definitely has his own ideas, but it has to be fair.
This war shouldn't be started, and I think that the problem that Putin killed so many people, and of course we need to do everything to pressure him to stop this war.
So this is Zelenskyy saying, of course, what he should, which is we need to be pressuring Putin to stop this war. He's the one that can stop this. It shouldn't have started. Now, Zelenskyy's understanding of why this shouldn't have started is to look to Putin and say it shouldn't have started because Putin invaded us, and like that shouldn't be allowed to happen in this day and age. But we're going to hear a little bit, I don't know if it's on this snippet, that Trump's idea of it shouldn't have started is completely different.
He's on our territory. That is the most important to understand. He's on our territory, and how to stop the war, to pressure him as we can, as we can. We have to do it.
And do you think the U.S. is the best?
U.S. is the leader. U.S. is the leader of support. U.S. is the leader.
And this is where Zelenskyy is going to be appealing to the American sense of who they are, their identity, their place in the world. This should land well with the American audience, as well as probably Trump, actually.
Leader in the world, and of course we value the support of the United States. We're thankful to the United States, the people of America, and of course we understand that United States can be the leader through any negotiation. You know that we have the peace summit, and we want to organize the second one, and we count on this support.
I know you're both in a rush. Last question. Will there be another meeting in the near future between you?
Could very well happen, but I think the president said it the best. This is a war that should have never happened.
And you know his understanding of this should never have happened. He doesn't. He catches himself, which is good, because he almost made this a partisan thing. Because you know he blames America for the war starting. He said that explicitly in his speeches over the last few days, which has been like an indicator that there's this worsening relationship between these two, because Trump sees the war in terms of a partisan issue in the States, and he blames Biden and by extension Harris for the war starting, rather than looking to Putin for culpability.
It should have never happened. It should have never happened, and it wouldn't have happened. It's a shame, but this is a war that
it would have happened if, but he stops himself. It wouldn't happen. It's a shame, and that's good that he caught himself there.
It should have never happened, and we'll get it solved. It's a complicated puzzle, very complicated puzzle, but we'll get it solved, and people get on with their lives. Too many people dead, too many beautiful cities. I've seen those cities. They're so beautiful, and they, I don't know how you can ever rebuild them the way they were. It's not possible.
You have to come, by the way, to see our city.
I will. It's a beautiful country, beautiful weather, beautiful everything, but we have to get this over with. But it's a war, and the president agrees. This is a war that should have never happened. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's just trying to work. I mean, this is generally pretty good. I'm just trying to work out whether this is a different snippet as well.
Strongest of our soldiers, our people. Of course, it will bring us closer to the peace. We need just peace. We need just peace. It's so important to have just peace for the people, especially for the families who lost their children. It's a big tragedy.
And I just want to dwell on one word, and you've heard this quite a lot. We've heard this from Biden, I think, and from Zelenskyy here. Just peace. A just peace. The word just does a lot of heavy lifting here. It's super important. What that means is there are just desserts. There's justice. There is a sense of we don't just want peace, but we want a peace that gives justice to the right people. In other words, we don't just want to appease Putin and have peace, and in order to get peace, we just give all our territory away. That's not a just peace. A just peace is really going back to 1991 borders, getting, or at least being in the strongest position possible to negotiate as much justice as we can possibly get out of this situation. It is not Russian appeasement or appeasement for Russia. That is an incredibly important phrase, and take note of when he says that, because this isn't a case of peace at any cost.
President Trump, have you changed your thoughts on how this war should end, what you think should be done, or do you still stand by some of the previous...
Well, I learned a lot, but...
And can I just say, this is a very important statement he's just said. This is the first time I've ever heard Donald J. Trump say the words, "I've learned a lot." And he just said it. He's had a meeting, "I've learned a lot." I've told you before that, and I'm sorry if you think this is a bit anti-Trumpian, whatever, but I just think he's generally very ignorant about an awful lot of stuff. If you listen to the content of his speeches, even what we've heard today, he repeats himself a lot. He says really vague things like, "I want this, I want that," but he doesn't ever show the requisite knowledge of any given subject. When he talks about economics, he like, yeah, some big ticket ideas like tariffs going up across the board 200%, whatever. But actually knowing the effect and communicating his knowledge to the audience is something he doesn't do, because I don't think he has the requisite knowledge. And this has been basically confirmed by those people who've worked around him, like 40 out of 44 people that are not endorsing him from his previous administration, say a lot of them have said actually he doesn't really know enough about X, Y, and Z. So I think I'm trying to say this by way of explanation. I'm not just trying to have a go at Trump here. Like genuinely, that appears to be the case. So when he then has a meeting with President Zelenskyy and his team, where Zelenskyy and his team are going to be informing him, Trump, about the situation in Ukraine. Trump has lived in an echo chamber where he's getting the information on Ukraine given to him by the people who don't give a shit about Ukraine, right? And so he will just be listening to skewed information that does not elevate his knowledge of the situation in any great way. He's now come off the back of a meeting with the people who are going to be in the best position to give him the most accurate information of what's going on, or at least, yeah, you can argue it's skewed from their point of view, but there is going to be data coming out from these guys that Trump just will not have heard. So his answer here is incredibly important. It not only shows that he was in a position where he didn't know a lot of stuff, but is also he's magnanimous enough for the first time in his life to say, I've learned quite a lot.
Big tragedy.
President Trump, have you changed your thoughts on how this war should end, what you think should be done, or do you still stand by some of the previous...
Well, I learned a lot, but I think I haven't changed from the standpoint that we both want to see this end, and we both want to see a fair deal made.
I learned a lot, but I was still right. What's important to understand here is want a fair deal. Now, is that a fair deal for Ukraine, or is that a fair deal for everyone? Is he giving Putin a chance to get a deal that's fair for Putin? There is no deal that should be fair for Putin. Putin has invaded, his country has invaded another nation. And so a just deal should reflect that Putin was the aggressor. Like, you know, if a shoplifter comes in and steals a bunch of stuff from your shop, right? And the police come along and this goes to court, you don't go, well, let's have a fair deal for the shoplifter. How about you, Mr. Shopkeeper, give the shoplifter maybe a third of what he had, of what he stole? Like, we don't do that. We're not looking for fairness for the shoplifter, unless, you know, fairness is in the sense like he gets the punishment that is proportionate to his crime. That's fair. But I don't know that that's what Trump is talking about here. So I have a slight issue with maybe the framing of fairness, but that's my speculation.
Well, I learned a lot, but I think I haven't changed from the standpoint that we both want to see this end, and we both want to see a fair deal made. And it's got to be fair, and I think that'll happen at the right time. I think it's going to happen. The president wants it to end, and he wants it to end as quickly as possible. He wants a fair transaction to take place, and I think...
How often have I told you Trump is transactional? He wants a fair transaction to take place. I'm just not sure I would use that language to refer to this. Like, it's clear to me that he still isn't quite on board with Ukraine being in a morally upstanding position and Russia being absolutely the bad guys here and needing their comeuppance. I'm not sure he gets that.
As quickly as possible. He wants a fair transaction to take place, and I think, right now I'm campaigning, so right now I don't have much to do with it other than strongest.
Okay, so the final one I'm going to go to is this. I think this is quite an interesting side-by-side comparison here that someone has done.
It should stop, and the president wants it to stop, and I'm sure President Putin wants it to stop.
Putin started this war, and he could end it tomorrow if he simply withdrew his troops from Ukraine's sovereign territory. Of course, he has demonstrated no intention of doing that. Instead, he continues to assault civilian infrastructure and terrorize the people of Ukraine.
So I think this is really super important. So we can get carried away with saying, oh, well done, Trump, for saying like the bare minimum. But the bare minimum doesn't even stretch to accusing Putin of moral culpability in a way that Kamala Harris did. Now, I don't want to be too overly partisan here, but this is freaking important, right? Putin is getting away with it still with Trump's lack of justified accusations towards Putin. He stopped short of throwing any criticism Putin's way in a way that Kamala Harris just really, really brilliantly did. Or I say brilliantly, it's not brilliant, it's just exactly what you should expect, but we haven't seen from Trump.
Ukraine should turn over some of its own land to Russia in order to end the war?
We'll see what happens.
Do you think Ukraine should hand over some of its territory to Russia? And his answer is not, no, I don't think that's the case. It's, we'll see what happens, right? And this is what Harris has said.
Some in my country who would instead force Ukraine to give up large parts of its sovereign territory, who would demand that Ukraine accept neutrality and would require Ukraine to forego security relationships with other nations. These proposals are the same of those of Putin.
Now, I know this is scripted, right? And Trump has been off the cuff there. But there's no desire from Trump to say anything remotely like this. And I think that is not good enough. So this is great that they've had a discussion, and it's putting that relationship on the right track. But it is far, far short from where it should be. And Trump's position is far, far away from where it should be.
And let us be clear, they are not proposals for peace. Instead, they are proposals for surrender.
And this is where I applaud. I absolutely applaud the way that she frames this. This is what I want to hear from both sides.
Which is dangerous and unacceptable.
So we have a very good relationship. And I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin. And I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have, I see. Yeah, but it takes two.
So Trump's talking about good relations with Putin, and here Zelenskyy saying, hang on, I hope we have good relationships too, matey.
Relationship, as you know, with so we have a very good relationship, and I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin. And I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have, I see.
So in other words, I hope we have a better relationship than you've got with Putin. He's a freaking invading dictator.
Yeah, but it takes two to tango, and we.
Well, President Zelenskyy, it is good to see you again. This is our 7th visit together, and welcome back to Washington, D.C. As I have made clear on our 6 previous meetings and throughout Putin's brutal aggression against Ukraine, my support for the people of Ukraine is unwavering. I've been proud to stand with Ukraine. I will continue to stand with Ukraine, and I will work to ensure Ukraine prevails in this war.
She's talking about Ukraine prevailing. So when you're talking about peace negotiations, I want a fair peace negotiation. She's saying, I want to be working hard for Ukraine to prevail. So on the one hand, we can be positive to some degree about what Trump is saying and the meeting between the two. But on the other hand, it is vastly, vastly inferior. It's like these two human beings, Trump and Harris, are on two different kind of moral and political dimensions. So, yeah, it is what it is. It's better than it was 2 days ago. There's no doubt about that. It's a move in the right direction, but it's a dolly step towards where Trump needs to be if he's to be a good moral judge and a good political judge and a good strategic judge of where Ukraine is, what Ukraine means to the US, and what this means to US's position in the world going forward. Trump is a long way off where he needs to be. That's my tuppence. Let me know what you think. I'm sure some of you will vastly disagree. Take care. Speak soon.